Hey everyone, welcome back to Buckyscustoms. Hey, in this video, I'm going to do a little comparison here. Way back in the day, almost 2 years now, I bought a Longmill from Sienci Labs. And I waited 8 weeks to get it delivered. It was right when they were beginning to start out with the MK1 and put a production version out, and I waited 8 weeks and it was well worth the wait. Along with that Longmill, I ordered a touch block, and it looked just like this one right here. As a matter of fact, it is this one right here. And this is what they call the standard touch block. And a while back I did a video on how to use this touch block, and I realized that I didn't do a detailed enough version of that. There were a lot of questions out there on certain aspects of this touch block. So in this video I'm going to go over all that, and I'm going to go over more or less a comparison between the standard touch block and the new Sienci Labs AutoZero touch block. This thing is fantastic, by the way. I wish it was available way back in the day, but I'm going to show you the differences between the two, so I hope you stay with us. We're going to do the standard touch block, which I received when I bought my mill almost 2 years ago, and I still use that touch block today. I have 2 mills now, so I use whatever one I need, basically, depending on whatever bits I use. But I'm going to go through the process of start to finish on the standard touch block, and we're going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you the gSender screen. I'm also going to let you watch the mill and how I do it. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is our Z, and you notice on the top of this touch plate there's a logo, and you can see I've trashed it quite a few times because of my not hooking the magnet, not having connectivity, so on and so on. So I take special care, make sure I've got good connectivity. I always use the connectivity probe. That seems to work good for me. Now I'm gonna put this bit right over that circle. Doesn't have to be perfectly centered, just needs to be in that circle. Okay, so now I'm gonna run the probe, Z probe. You select Z and you get connectivity. Once it turns blue, you can start, and it should work flawlessly, and it does. Okay, so there's our Z. Now, for doing the X and Y, you notice there's a picture here on the right-hand side with a standard touch block, and that shows you that you need to bring the bit out to the corner, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going to move the bit out to the corner, just like that. And you want to make sure that when you sight down this way, it's out here. When you sight down this way, it's out here. You don't want it within the block itself. Then you want to drop it down. You see on the picture how it's dropped down, so you want to do that, and then you can touch probe. I've already got my bit selected. As far as the size, I'm using 1/4 inch, and there we go. It's going to start our probe. And it returns to zero, your zero location. So now if you just want to do the X, let's just say you want to go do the X this way. then what you need to do is you need to come over here. You can see that here is your logo right here, and your bit is back off on the side, which is exactly what you need to do. Now you need to drop the bit down, okay, and we can bring it back just a little bit. I like to bring it back in the center and hit probe, do your connectivity, and probe. Done. Now let's do the Y. Now for the Y, we're going to do the same thing. And drop that down. We're going to do the connectivity and hit probe. There we go. So now what we want to do is I want to do the X, Y, and Z on this piece of wood. So select X, Y, and Z, and we'll hit probe, and we'll start. It'll do your Z. Come over and do your X. And then it'll come over and do your Y. And it should return back to 0. And there you go. That is it. Now, I'm going to give you a little tip here. If you have a 1/2" V-bit, you can use the 1/4", any straight-sided bit, as long as you tell it what the dimension is, to get your center or your X and Y. No matter what, this puts your bit on the corner in the center of the bit, not on the edge, you know, in the center of the bit. So your router center is right directly above the far end of this corner. Okay. So you can cheat the machine a little bit by saying, okay, I'm going to change this to a 1/2" V-bit. Well, 1/2" V-bit's not in here, so use your 1/4". Whatever bit you select here has to be the bit you put in here. So if you select a dimension of 3/8 or 1/4", this bit has to have a 1/4" or 3/8" diameter measurement. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So if you're going to use a 1/2" V-bit, you can use this to set your X and Y. So that's what you do. You just come over here, do your 1/4". Let's do your X and Y. So we know we've got to come over here to the very outside. Drop this down. Want to come in a little bit closer. Okay. All right. Remember, it has to be clear both ways. So we're going to probe it. We're going to do this. And we're going to do our X and Y. Now this will give you the center of the router shaft, which will give you the center of whatever bit you're using. Okay, so now your X and Y is done. So what you would do now is you would change this bit with your 1/2" V-bit, and then you would do just the Z, and then your coordinates are all set, leave your V-bit in because that's what you're going to carve with, and do your job. After that, if you have a ball nose bit, same thing applies. If you have a 1/2 inch ball nose, then you do this. You can use a 1/4 inch, you can use an 1/8 inch, any straight sided bit to get your X and Y. And then as long as you have the correct dimension, if you say it's a 1/2 inch and it's really 7/16, then it's going to be wrong. So it has to be exactly the dimension. Okay? Now, you get your X and Y, then do your Z on your final bit. You put the bit in that you're going to use, and you do your Z, and then you can start your job. So the way our touch blocks work is by finding the center of our bits. And this is a 1/16 inch ball end. You can't even barely see the ball end. I know it's a ball end because it's not poking a hole in my finger. But it's tapered, so you really couldn't get up against as much with the standard block because it wouldn't know where it was, you know, unless you brought it all the way down and you said it was a 1/4 inch. But then you're too far past. Okay, so using a 1/4 inch straight sided to get your X and Y, and then putting your actual carving bit in and doing your Z solves the issue. Now, this touch block, the AutoZero, does it all. Everything. It will take care of the center, your X and Y, and it will also do your Z on any bit you want to put in this. It will calculate it based on the design of this block. So I guess it's a matter of, do you want something that's a one and done, which kind of I do. I prefer to use the AutoZero, but could I use the standard touch block? Of course I could. I could keep using this with no problem. This is very cool, and it is, you know, a no-brainer for me. I'm going to use this block more than I will this block. I'm not trying to sell you either one, okay? I'm just giving you my opinion. You can do everything with this block, or you can do everything with this block with a few cheat moves. But you have to know the cheat moves in order to make it work. Now, I prefer to use this because the less I got to worry about, okay, do I have to put a 1/4 inch bit in? What do you say to market? 1/2 inch, double the diameter? No, you don't do any of that. The Longmill wants to find the center of your bit, whatever it is. And it wants to find the tip of your bit, whatever that is. So, irregardless of whether it's tapered or any of that, you can figure out a way of doing it with both of these, but this takes all the thought process out. All you need to do is for a tapered, you use the tip. For a straight-sided, you use the auto. And that's all you need. So in all the time that I've had the CNC machine, I have never used just the X or just the Y. I've always used the X and Y, the Z by itself, or the X, Y, and Z together. I've never used just the X or just the Y. So, not sure why anybody would need that. I'm sure there's a reason, but I wouldn't know what that is. either one of these blocks is going to get the job done for you. And typically, if you do a lot of carving with V-bits, this will take all the headache out of it for you. I mean, you can still do it with this, but this will take a lot of the headache out of it for you because it automatically does what you need it to do. So I guess that's about it. Having those questions proposed to me made me want to do this video a little bit and give you more specifics on what and how. I hope you enjoyed what I shared with you here, and if you did, go ahead and help this channel out by subscribing to it, and we'll show you more content as we get it. So until next time, folks, be safe out there.